Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei, Al Bob. Oh, yeah. So I went and helped collect food that supermarkets would throw out normally and take it to the food pantries for the poor. And um, and what's really interesting, how much food gets thrown away. Just mind freaking boggling. But anyway, we're going to do a little smorgasbord of what the stuff that I listen to. Here's something that a good friend sent me. And so listen to this. This is Psychology of Malignant Narcissists, right? Academy of Ideas. And it's the after school series on YouTube.
Was written and narrated by Academy of Ideas. Check out their YouTube channel for more of their videos.
After school.
Evil is not committed by people who feel uncertain about their righteousness, who question their own motives, who worry about betraying themselves. The evil in this world is committed by the spiritual fat cats, by the Pharisees of our own day, the self-righteous who think they are without sin because they are unwilling to suffer the discomfort of significant self-examination. Most politicians proclaim themselves to be exemplars of virtue, but many of them compulsively lie, engage in corruption, censor and demonize those who disagree with them, and enact policies that destroy society. Are such politicians aware of their hypocrisy? Do they truly believe in the morally righteous self-image they try to portray? In this video, drawing from the insights of the American psychiatrist M. Scott Peck, we explore the psychology of malignant narcissism in order to better understand the evil that has infected modern politics. M. Scott Peck defines evil as that force, residing either inside or outside of human beings, that seeks to kill life or liveliness, or as he continues, evil is live spelt backward. Evil is in opposition to life. Specifically, it has to do with unnecessary killing, killing that is not required for biological survival. Evil is also that which kills spirit. There are various essential attributes of life, particularly human life, such as sentience, mobility, awareness, growth, autonomy, will. It is possible to kill or attempt to kill one of these attributes without actually destroying the body. All of us are capable of committing evil acts, for as Alexander Solzhenitsyn noted, the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. Nonetheless, two types of people are particularly prone to evil actions: psychopaths and malignant narcissists. The psychopath's potential for evil is well known, but it is the malignant narcissists who may be responsible for more of the world's evil, as they outnumber the psychopaths. And as Peck writes in his book, The People of the Lie, it would be quite appropriate to classify evil people as constituting a specific variant of the narcissistic personality disorder. Psychiatrists have begun to pay increasing attention to the phenomenon of narcissism. Our understanding of the subject is still in its infancy. The central characteristic of narcissism is an inflated sense of self. Narcissists are overconfident and admire themselves to a degree that is not warranted by the reality of who they are or what they have accomplished. The narcissist's infatuation with the grandiose self-image leads to self-absorption, reducing their capacity to empathize with the feelings and experiences of other people. Narcissism exists on a continuum. Some of the milder forms of narcissism, such as identifying with an idealized self-image one creates on social media, are unhealthy but relatively benign. At the extreme end of the spectrum lies the pathology of malignant narcissism, in which one identifies with an illusory self-image of moral purity, or as Peck explains, utterly dedicated to preserving their self-image of perfection. Malignant narcissists are unceasingly engaged in the effort to maintain the appearance of moral purity. While they seem to lack any motivation to be good, they intensely desire to appear good. Their goodness is all on a level of pretense. It is, in effect, a lie. This is why they are the people of the lie. Malignant narcissism is a defensive phenomenon that is rooted in a deep fear of being inferior or inadequate, particularly in matters of morality. Due to childhood trauma, growing up with hypercritical or narcissistic parents, or for other reasons of upbringing, socialization, or genetics, the malignant narcissist cannot acknowledge that, like everyone else, they make mistakes, behave immorally, and possess a potential for evil that is rooted in human nature. Or as Peck writes, what is the cause of this arrogant self-image of perfection, this particularly malignant type of narcissism? Basically, it is fear. Malignant narcissists are continually frightened that they will come face to face with their own evil. This terror is so chronic, so interwoven into the fabric of their being, that they may not even feel it as such. And if they could, their omnipresent narcissism will prohibit them from ever acknowledging it. When psychologically healthy people commit an immoral or evil act, they acknowledge their wrongdoing, feel guilt and remorse, and attempt to make amends by returning to the side of the good.
So, is that like anyone we know of? Right? Mm.
I was married to a Mexican girl. We went on that website.
So, does that remind you of anybody you know?
Alexa, play me Alexa. Alexa,
Alexa doesn't want to listen to John.
Alexa.
I'm having trouble connecting. I'll keep trying.
The internet's down. The internet's down. I'm using the cell signal.
I'm having trouble connecting. I'll keep
Let's
trying.
work out. We don't need music. Once I sing it myself.
I'm having trouble connecting. I'll keep trying.
So, Alexa's having a hard time connecting, meaning she, as a artificial intelligence, has more empathy than our boy John. Imagine that.
I'm all alone in my house. I'm going to be here tonight. I'm way out in the woods. You know what I'm going to say? Let's all try this.
Yeah, let's all try that. Anyway, let's see. Let's try. See what's been on the radio. Let's see what I have most recent.
You have 16 saved voice messages. First voice message sent Tuesday, April 30th at 6:55 p.m. from phone number 5402.
This is Headmaster. I'm 93.
Make sure to leave that in your mind. As the preacher was preaching to his congregation in this chapter of Acts, the apostle is preaching. He says, speaking of David, he removed Saul and then he raised up to them David to be their king, to whom also he, God, gave testimony and said, I found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. Notice the last phrase, which shall fulfill all my will.
God's thing.
You don't have any other men in the Bible. You know, Moses was a great man too, and he followed God. But David was one of those choice vessels. but it was the time of year, and they've been fighting. There's so many things that are going on. It's more than people can handle, and families are struggling. And
This is back in Jimmy Carter time.
But our God is able, and that's what we're appealing to Him today for a healing in America. Well, you're right, and I've said it several times yesterday and even today, Shirley, that there may be some will say, well, you, Shirley Dobson, all of you folks have been praying for 70 years. It hasn't seemed to help much. Well, I'd say it's helped a lot, or we'd be in worse shape. What do you think? Well, that's the bottom line. What if God's people did not pray? We brought it on ourselves. God us to go our own way. We've decided that we don't need him in our schools. We don't need him in our government buildings. We don't need him at all in the public square. And so it's kind of like he says, okay, you don't want me there, you can have it. Let's see what kind of job you can do. And now we see the mess that we're in.
This is the neoconservative Christian.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you served for 25 years as the National Day of Prayer chairperson for the task force. Is that right? Yes, it is. It was a wonderful privilege, and I kept saying.
And that's what today is. Today is the National Day of Prayer. Today, Thursday, the 2nd of May, is National Prayer Day. So I've been praying all day long. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. As it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without Amen. This prayer was given to us by Jesus Christ, right? This is a Sermon on the Mount. And it is a sitchin, meaning it was, that's what most people heard. But he also, at the same time, was because he would have these crowds of hundreds of thousands of people, and they didn't just all speak Greek or Hebrew or Sumerian. They spoke many languages, right? And everyone heard it in their own language. Right? So this is a sitchin. This is a very powerful prayer. Our Father, meaning the prime mover, right? Within the jailed Christian motif of the male is the leader, even though the female is the spirit, right? So, our Father who art in heaven, meaning that's where that Father lives, in heaven, right? Now, that is a singular place, whereas the Godhead lives everywhere, in everybody, in everything, right? Not up in heaven. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallow, meaning most high, most important. Hallowed, meaning this is special, special stuff. Hallowed be thy name, meaning the early Jews, and then after Christ, the name of Elohim was not spoken, right? And that is many of the problems of why we disagree as a human species, is because we have all of these ideas, and this whole idea of having this motif of being special, right? Is the downfall of humanity. It's your life isn't about you; it's about the we and me. And so, why I see John as an important character, not as an A-lister or he's really anything special, but what he is the epitome of what was being said by the early show there. You know, the psychology
wrongdoing, feel guilt
Malignant
and remorse,
narcissism.
and attempt to make amends by returning to the side of the good. Most of us, in other words, have a functioning conscience which places moral constraints on our behavior. The conscience of the malignant narcissist, in contrast, is forced into a state of dormancy by continual acts of self-deception. As the malignant narcissist's identity is anchored in a grandiose self-image of moral goodness, when he morally falters, he resorts to rationalizations, confabulations, and other defense mechanisms to maintain a feeling of moral righteousness, thus bypassing the conscience and escaping feelings of guilt. Because the malignant narcissist silences his conscience with ongoing self-deceptions, he can repeatedly lie and behave in ways that oppose life, yet still believe that he is on the side of good. Or as Peck explains further, it is not their sins, per se, that characterize malignant narcissists. Rather, it is the subtlety and persistence and consistency of their sins. This is because the central defect of malignant narcissists is not the sin, but the refusal to acknowledge it.
That's right.
Rather than blissfully lacking a sense
And
of
that
morality,
is the
like the
term.
psychopath, malignant narcissists are continually engaged in sweeping the evidence of their evil under the rug of their own consciousness. It is out of their failure to put themselves on trial that their evil arises. One of the main self-deceptive mechanisms which the malignant narcissist uses to avoid awareness of his morally imperfect self is, paradoxically, the very mechanism that leads him to commit some of his most evil acts. This mechanism is scapegoating, which, as Peck notes, mechanism psychiatrists call projection. The malignant narcissist unconsciously externalizes the emotions and motivations he cannot accept in himself, attributing them to other people, and he then blames these targets for what in reality are his own moral failures.
I'm all alone in my house. I'm gonna be here tonight. I'm way out in the woods. You know what I'm gonna say? Let's all try this. Beetlejuice. 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 Oh no! I'm all alone.
Praise Jesus.
It's a bright and sunny day. It's a bright and sunny day. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus.
So what about his kids? You know, we hadn't seen him in 10 years. Really, he's never, ever been, a child, especially a boy, needs his father. And John has been woefully because it's too hard. Well, being a parent is probably the hardest job there is. That's why, basically I was always a Dutch uncle, I was always there for whatever kid I saw right in front of me who was about to do something that would change his life for the worst. I would step in when I could. I had my 3 little rules, my little guiding rails, which is like doctor, do no harm. Don't get involved unless you have a workable exit strategy, and you're only going in to help the innocent folk get out of harm's way. You're supposed to be invisible. You're not doing it for any kind of praise, Jesus, you know. And the third one is you don't get involved unless you can learn about something that will be for the betterment of everybody involved, right? So why I was involved with John for as long as I was about, and it wasn't all an 18-month period because he threw me out 32 times. And all those times I basically was away for a week or two, right? Um, so that's 32 weeks at the very least. A couple of them I was away for almost a month, right? Because the event was so much fun, right? You know, it's just like, you know, why should I even right now? You know, I haven't been back to John Boy until the last time I saw Johnny in person was Thanksgiving of 2022. That was it, right? And so, um, and it was so off the wall. It was right, and again, I go in as a psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologist. I mean, I'm a social scientist, and John is a one-stop shop for that, right? And this discussion of narcissism is like, and that's what's going on all around us. You know, I was just with a good friend, a guy around here. It comes from a long lineage of holler folk, of well-known, respected holler folk. But his father went off the rails with alcohol and drugs. So did his mom, and his whole family went down that tube. He didn't. Right? He really liked cars. He learned how to fix cars. He got himself a little garage, and he's a holler mechanic. He fixes the poor people's cars because they really need it, right? And he doesn't really charge them a lot of money. You know, it's like the guys who fix my Kia. You know, they milked me for $3 grand, and then it died. Right? So that right there, you know, Jackie Boy's Mountain Express auto fix it place. You know, a form of narcissism, right? Everything is about you know, everyone wears a uniform, um, everything looks a certain way, and you know, he can kind of fix your car. But if it's a troubled thing, instead of saying, "Hey, just get yourself another car," I mean, that $3 grand, I could have bought another car. You know, now I'm driving this thing, and my buddy, I went over to see my buddy, and he looked at the car. You know, this is a beater, so it doesn't always start, right? First of all, and I can't really drive very far away, right? But he rolled around underneath it, and he said this thing was in a bad accident, and the whole frame is broken and bent, and it was bent back, and they didn't really do it right, so everything down there is rusting out. So you're going to take a turn, and one day, you know, your front of your car is going to go one way, and you know the so it's you know, but it's better than walking, right? And I think God is this is like I don't always it doesn't always start. So like yesterday, it started. I had to go do things. I got them done. Came home, was fooling around with what I had done, and I was going to go someplace else, and it wouldn't start. And the phone rang, and the girl who was supposed to come and get me um, the day before, but she wasn't feeling good. She came and got me, and we went out and we went to lunch. She took me to lunch. She bought me some clothes. She, you know, she's got money, so and she has. I've known her a while, and I have helped her, you know, work things out. So she's like, you know, got instead of being stuck, she's working through her issues on her own time, right? On her own way. I gave her some tools. She's doing it, and she's doing a good job. So she does have some money. You know, she had a career, and her and a family had some cash, so she has some money. And so she took me out to lunch and bought me some groceries and wanted to buy me. He wanted to buy me a lot more, but I said, no, 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 this is good. You know, I got things I didn't have like salsa and Parmesan cheese and what else did I get? A few other little odds and ends, not really much. Oh, a doorknob because I couldn't open a door. We were at Walmart, so I got myself a doorknob. Things like that. She spent about $20, but it made her feel good. And anyway. But anybody wants to throw something on the old PayPal, that'd be great. And Johnny Boy, he says, "Well, I'll give you money if you come on my show." Blah blah blah. Tell stories. Blah blah blah. I own everything. I own you. Blah blah blah. And he's like talking smack about me on his channel. I mean, he talks about parts of my life like he knows what it is to like lose someone you really love. Right now, I've lost 50 people who I really loved. I mean. And that's because I loved a lot of people. And Johnny Boy, he doesn't even, he doesn't love nobody, right? He loves a narcissistic, um, imaginary view of himself as an A-lister. But look at his videos. Right? Now, I don't proclaim to be anything but me. That's all I am. This guy right here. Your Sensei Al Bob. Your grad here to tell you stories. And I can tell you some pretty good stories, right? You've heard a few. And on this show, and what do I say? Don't believe a word I say, So let's just take a little thumb ride through the radio. Let's see, how much juice do we have left in this old guy here? We got a good half hour, 40 minutes. So let's go back to this. And I hate it. Now, my phone, every time I leave a site, it goes to a commercial. Right?
Well, Vonnet Bright actually asked me, and she's gone on to be with the Lord now, but she asked me if I would.
It's Christian radio.
I think I can do this for 2 or 3 years, and I ended up staying 25 years.
And why did she do it? Because she got political power for it. She administered in Congress, in the White House, in the Supreme Court, the National, Day of Prayer. And she was always being brought into groups to put, like Billy Graham was another person. I knew Billy Graham really well. This woman I don't. She, what's his name? James Dobson's wife. And they're very powerful political people, just like Jerry Falwell, who I knew very well. He started, he was all about the the quiet folk. We had to make some noise. We're Christians. Everything's going hell in a handbasket. Everyone's getting rights. Black people got rights now. Women want rights, and now what are these trans gay rights? Oh my God! What happened to our country? Well, it was never there, right? It was never there. What our founding fathers were white, rich, privileged guys, not your average guy. And Donald Trump would be a good example of what our founding fathers were: rich, privileged, stupid people. But our founding fathers are a lot more intelligent than Donnie. Most of whatever is valuable in the IQ zone went down Donnie's father's leg, right? And a person who will be very interesting is Barron. There was a book written in the 1920s, right? And it's kind of a sci-fi thing, and it's about a guy named Barron Trump, who, and the book takes place like in 2040, and Barron Trump's father was president in the United States, and his great uncle was a scientist, and that's exactly who Barron, So go check that out, And it's like a time traveling, and pretty much Steven Spielberg, his Back to the Future was kind of based on this book. Nothing is new under the frigging sun. This is all scripted. What you're seeing in Russia and Ukraine, scripted. If it was a true war, Russia, that super outnumbered start, would just have gone in there, taken it, do this stupid crap they're doing now, right? Because it's region. I mean, Putin is being paid to drag Russia through a new world order, right? And back in the day when Putin was in charge, back when Billy Clinton was there in the 90s, and he said, "Okay, we have détente and no more Cold War. Why doesn't Russia become part of NATO?" And Billy went to Russia physically and said, "Listen, buddy, this is how it works. You're going to have to be the titularly loyal opposition, the guy we can always point to. You can't be in NATO because you have the strongest military force. Those guys would never buy our weapons if you become part of NATO. No, you always kind of have to be in the background, like, ooh, you're going to do something bad." Now, we really needed something, ooh, he's going to do something bad. So he let him go into Ukraine because that was part of Russia anyway, more than what the Baltic states were, Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania, Estonia, all those, Hungary, they were never part of Russia. They were in their influence. And then after World War II, they come in there and push the Nazis out. And so they stayed. And that was the Soviet Union. And that was done in Yalta, and Yalta was done, the agreement was done in Tehran, in Iran. Iran has always been the capital of the Persian Empire, and it hasn't gone away. All these things are right in front of us. Does anybody see them? No. How can a picklehead like me? And my head looked kind of like a pickle. That's when the nun. So that was Anyway, how can I see all this stuff and I have no access? I have to walk or drive 40, 50 miles to a coffee shop or my faraway neighbor's house and stay on his driveway and talk to you guys, right? So it's like, go after school. That thing, that's a really good channel, right? After school. It's called After School. Let's look at it some more. Oh, boo. If that ain't narcissism, I don't know what is, right?
It's a bright and sunny day.
Well, I think I seen about everything when I seen an elephant fly. Oh yeah, when I see an elephant with their wings fly, fly. That's funny. Well, I think I seen about everything when I seen an elephant fly. Oh yeah, when I see an elephant. Hi. Hey. Hi. Well, I look pretty good considering I weigh a bunch, because I look really good.
Who cares, right? Who cares what you look like? What I care about is how other people feel, right? When I interact with them, right? Now, I can be harsh. I was with some people earlier this week where, they brought me around because they wanted me to see a situation and they wanted to, blame someone and they wanted me to back that up, right? And then help them negotiate what the outcome they wanted, right? And I said, no, guys, this is actually your fault. What do you mean it's my fault? It's not my fault. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, because you are only looking at this from your point of view. Why don't you look at it from their point of view? If you want a positive outcome, you have to look at it. What? They suck. They're mean. They're terrible. They're terrible people. Okay, good luck with that. And that's where we are right now. Meaning we are not even close. There's so many books. I have so many friends who are Civil War scholars from around here. I mean, scholarly, not just hobbyists, right? They teach it in college, Harvard, Yale, you know. So anyway, so they always get me around to like when they get into these and they're academics, right? They truly say, well, Al's the scholar, so he can be the referee. Well, I do. What else do I got to do, right? Uh, And that's the beauty of my life is that I'm always brought to some really fun, interesting things, and I things can really upset me. Like I've lived here for 25 years. It's a gorgeous place, beautiful, 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 right? And the rich have come and bought it all up and just ripping it apart. And I was with the holler guy, and he was saying that there's close to 3,000 um, homeless people. And you go on Zillow and you look at these pieces of property, and Zillow says, "Oh, it's worth $600,000," because it's comparing it to what the rich people are now doing with it. And this one guy, he bought 300 acres of this farm, and the old guy died, who was running the farm, and he had two kids who were like useless and a wife, right? And they, couldn't even pay for the burial. So Zilla said that their property was worth $600,000, and this guy went over with 30 grand cash, and a lawyer, and a notary, and a contract, and gave him 30 grand, and then said out. Not even like tomorrow. The old man's not even the ground out, right? And they were going to bury him in the plot. Nope, nope, nope. We're going to dig all that shit up. All those people who've been buried there, you got to just throw them in the garbage. And that actually happened. And so what did they do? They built a beautiful road coming off one of the farm roads that has really, bucolic fields, and they put fences so they put cows there, and this road with beautiful trees lined up going up to this big house, 11,000 square foot house. So it has a view of the whole mountain range. And then the other, 120 acres, they put a road up and put electricity and water. They dug a bit well. And they have 50 lots, and they're selling each lot for 50 grand. But the problem is, it's so steep. It looks pretty. Winter, ooh, not going to be pretty. And the way those lots are set up, that when they put a septic tank in, the drain lines will be bringing the sewage straight into the house below them. And the way the road switchbacks up that hill, there's maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 lots. So maybe 15 to 20 houses will be having shit in their living room every year. And that's what these guys are doing. Looks really nice on the surface. It's really pretty, especially that house. And they're selling the house, the big 11,000 square foot house, for $20 million. And they got a little chunk of the lakefront property that they built, like a nice little clubhouse and a marina. But when it is not at a really deep part of the lake, so when the TVA lowers the lake, which they do, half the year the lake is down by 20 to 30%, right? Because there's a period where it can rain. This is like a rainforest, so they can have rains. Like we had a rain in March, but they had lowered it to the lowest I'd ever seen, meaning to the ground. And I went around to all the marinas, and everyone who in the marinas, except for one marina that's in a deep place, their boats were on the ground, of the lake, right, the bottom of the lake. They had drained it out, and then we had a big golly wash. It rained and rained and rained for about 15 hours. It filled the whole lake up in 15 hours. And so whoever was running it was smart enough, and it was like up to the top, right, in 15 hours. So they do that. So these morons who are doing this, they sell it. Look, well, you have a marina. You can put your boat there, and you just kind of drive down in your golf cart, and you can right. But half the year, your boat's going to be on the rocks, and you can't take it out in the water. I mean, this place is just and it's so sensitive, so unbelievably what God's love is. That's why I came here, and I knew in '03 when I bought this place that I had hit the, itinerant scholar, my consulting business. I was making some serious cash. So I kept, because of taxes, I kept buying properties and investing things, right? I was doing the Warren Buffett thing, right? And so by 2012, I had quite the, the portfolio, as I would say. But I had gone from 200 pounds in 1988 to 385. Um, no, it's even heavier than that. No, 385 in 2012, right? And so in 2012, and I went to a rainbow gathering near here in Tennessee, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. It was like, uh-oh. So I kind of knew this was coming, but I still did it. So I kind of bailed, from all of my assets. And I had worked on a number of nonprofits, right? And so, and like around here, I helped put together a couple of times because I have a lot of experience doing that. And I did it, like the church and the school thing. And I'll do it, guys. Oh no, it's too hard, too hard. I said, I can do it. I'll give you all the credit because normally that's what I do. I take care of it, and then whoever is going to run it, I let them have the credit, so they can be the George Washington. So anyway, um, and both of those, right? Both of those entities around here that I helped build communities because they were basically similar to where this other place is. There had been neighborhoods, and they were church neighborhoods that there was a public school, and they were kind of connected at the hip. And then the county got rid of that school because it's way up. It's not where the town is or where most of their population is. It was just for a small farm. It's back in the day of the Little Red Schoolhouse. And so we basically, I put together a proposal. There was this woman who was really driving kind of person, and she was, the head of the whole thing. And so I wrote out the bylaws and the mission statement with her and a few other people, and we made a committee, and then we made a board, and then we made it a 501c3, and we took over that school and had a really nice big gymnasium and a big lawn, like to play soccer on, and big like 3-4 acre front lawn in front of the school, really pretty, and a pretty big parking lot off to the side, and so we made, and in the back they had fields that had been a farm, so they started growing food back there and having a farmers market, and all the other people who had bought property and were and mom and dad were farmers here, and then they got sick, the kids came back running the farm, but they were more city folk than farm folk, and so they were doing that, and for 3 years it was great, and we had these every Friday, Saturday, and I think Tuesday we had a market, right? And not just food, but everything. People made stuff, and we had a big shop in there. They had a big shop. They taught people how to fix cars and turn wood, and so we had people making stuff, holler stuff, and bringing it in, and it was great. And it was so much. We have a big dance in the gym every Friday and Saturday night. It was just sweet, right? And it worked really great for about 5 years. And I was still doing my thing. So I wasn't always here. Right. And I came back a year or so later, and the markets aren't happening. I went, what happened? And they said, oh, people got tired. It took too much energy. And there's this new guy, and he's taking the gym, and he's doing yoga and exercises, and he's always disagreeing with, and there was always fights at the board meetings, and you weren't there to stop it. And I said, guys, I told you this is your thing. I just help you put it together. Anyway, so that guy basically was fronted by somebody with money, and now today that whole school is this kind of workout place, like you would find in a big city, like in Miami or Boston or L.A. And it's still under the 501c3 that we set up, so they're not paying any taxes, but it's all owned by this guy, and he's just a poster child of the corporation, the mercantile boys, and they're dumping their money into it so they don't have to pay taxes. I mean, this whole area is just one gigantic um, grift, and it's exactly what Donnie Trump is. He's a grifter, and but America has been, Warren Woodrow Wilson, grifter, um, Kennedy, um, Bill Clinton, grifters, Hillary Clinton, grifter, Alexander, grifter, um, the guy before Lincoln, grifter. Um, it's pretty much our history. The guy who killed all the Indians after the Civil War. What's his name? It'll pop in mind. But anyway, that's what America is. It's all about that, right? And so what do you guys have to say? It's I think I have my my thing on here. See, open link in new windows. No, I don't want to open a new link. I want to have live. Let's see. Copy now. Chat. Yes. I want chat. Come on. Can you guys chat? That. Anyway, so come on, say there's two of you. Just say something so I know this works, right? So, guys, what I see going to happen before Labor Day, I have a sense that Israel will use nuclear weapons, meaning everybody's, oh, it's so close. We're going to have peace in the Gaza Strip. But, every day, somewhere between 60 and 200 people are dying. And the real obvious thing is, the greater Israel, right? And when, the first person who said from the river to the sea was the Zionists, not the guys, anyway. So they're going to use it on, and so what, so Iran, sent over like 70 or 300 or 500 missiles, but they totally telegraphed it. 72 hours before they did it, they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to send these really slow drones going over Jordan, right? And, we're giving you the path that everything's flying so you can shoot it down. And then, when those drones are halfway there, we're going to send first some cruise missiles and some ballistic missiles, which, ballistic missiles, they're hypersonic. They shoot them up almost into space and then they fall down. And by the time they're coming down, they're going pretty fast, right? But they're in a trajectory that what it's going to be. So Iron Dome, shot down those 500. But, the U.S. Navy was out there. The English Navy was out there. The French Navy was out there. And the Jordan army, because the thing's flying over their property, they didn't like that. They shot them down. So half, if not 3/4 of the stuff got shot down before it got to Israel. So out of the 500, maybe 60 to 70 got to Israel. And with their whoop-de-doo, thing, they barely shot those down. So this was Iran saying, this is what we can do. We gave you all the information to shoot it down. But the next time we do that, we're not going to tell you when we're going to do it. We're not going to first send the slowest stuff up so you can get a bead on it. So, guys, before even Israel can shoot it down, we're going to use stuff that no one can shoot down. And then and it's going to come from not us, but someplace else, right? That you won't be able to deal with. Like, back there where not Hamas, but the guys up there in the north are, at Lebanon, right? And so what's going to happen is, again, this whole thing's going to fall apart, and then Israel is going to go. It already is air bombing, Rafah, right? It's killing, like I say, between 60 and 200 people every day, mostly children and women. And so, and all of their bombings are being defined by AI. That bomb, even though it's a dumb bomb, it's hitting right on a house. And AI knows that this doctor lives there with his whole family. This scholar lives there with his whole family. This politician there with his whole family. This all these people that are like the glue to the Palestinians in the Strip, or their whole families are getting wiped out, right? Along with collateral damage of everybody else, right? There's probably 50,000 dead people, probably almost 200, um, severely damaged people, and all of those people, because they've been picked out by AI, affect the other 2.6 million people, meaning their uncles or aunts or mothers or fathers, and so everyone in the Strip is in shock, and most of them are praying to be the martyr. I mean, if you die there, you are a martyr, right? Kind of very, very Klingon, kind of. Anyway, and what the real deal of this war is all about is real estate, the larger Israel. And what the other big deal is, right down kind of close to the sea and Egypt, is a very, very, very large part of oil and natural gas. Enough oil and natural gas to take care of Israel for at least 100 years without having to get it from anybody else. So that means they can make all their own chemicals, they can make all their own fertilizers, they can make all their own explosives, they can make all of that is made from oil and gas, right? And heat their house and run their electricity, etc. So that's why they want that, right? And when Donald Trump was there, he said this. I'll come back and build a few hotels here, right? I mean, come on, guys. It's so in front of your face. So they're going to nuke that, right? And then Putin will go, well, if they can do that, I'm going to take Kiev and Odessa and that little town up there right on the border of Poland that all of the weapons are coming over that are giving me a headache. So he's going to use 3 tacks. And that one tack near Poland will be close enough to pretty much devastate that town in Poland. Ergo, NATO, Section 5 and 7, off to the races we go. We have a large land war in Europe. This is by the 4th of July. Before the 4th of July, this is going to be happening. And all the kids in all the colleges are going to be woo, and then we're going to have the Democratic Republican conventions, which will make Chicago look like this is all scripted, guys. Come on. So one or two things will happen. I think Donnie and Biden will come together as a unified. They'll have a new party. The Imperial American Corp. Forget the Republicans, the Democrats, the liberals, or the conservatives. This is the new corporate political party, the NICP, the Neo Insane Clown Party, right? And that will be it. That will be our politics. No more. No. We will take euphemistic terms from the Constitution because that was a piece of slime anyway, just ratifying the needs and wants of the hypocrites of our founding fathers. And there we go, right? Let's see. Dante. To get it just the right space. Dude. Yeah, that's okay. Chaman. Yep. Chaman. Do you get that at a Chinese buffet, chow mein? Anyway, so I suggest that you guys check out the after school website on YouTube. It's really no, sorry, buddy, no more of you. No more of you. Here we go. Here it is. Psychology of Malignant Narcissists. And that's why I keep saying that John Birmingham is the patron saint of the canary in the gilded cage of malignant narcissism, right? Holy moly, what the heck was that? There's no automobiles, no trucks, not tracks, but one unbelievable taste of chemical something just went by. Just gotta. What was that? What's the sky? Ooh, the sky. You ever look at the sky in an industrial area and all the hydrocarbons are up in the air? So the sky is like orange and blood red, and well, that's where the sky went from kind of blue. Yesterday it was a gorgeous blue sky day, right? Today early in the morning it was, and watch this, and that's what I love. I get up at 6 while it's still, or 5:30 while the sky is still dark and the stars are its brightest. And I sit. I have this one chair. I have about 10 different places to sit on my property. Different prayer temples and different places to observe things going on in the sky. And so I was sitting in this one thing yesterday morning, and it was so dark, and there was so many stars, and there is no light nearby me. Period. And by 11:30, all of the solar lighting that allows me to get around without killing myself at night is asleep. And I have other lights. I have some really nice big stadium lights that are deep in the forest that I have at the bottom of where the tree line is. I can just hit a wireless remote and bang, the whole forest around me lights up like a stadium. It's like quite impressive. And then I have another circuit that has the sequencing Christmas lights in a lot of trees. So if it's really dark and I just hit that button, all the whole forest is, it's I'm trying to signal ET, like, get me out of here. You took down what you said. You don't have to. Jamie, you need to start writing me on the dude awake 42 at Gmail, right? So we can have conversations that you don't have to take down. Oh, there's that smell again. What is that? I mean, there should not be anything that smells like that, because someone has to be burning something severely nasty not too far from me. That is, holy moly. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really bother me. I have some friends who are super duper sensitive. Now, I'm sensitive to it, but I'm so old it's not going to kill me. Well, it might, but the way it tastes, no, so nice. And like I said, the color of the sky isn't deadly. It's strange, meaning that big puffy white cloud up there has got chunks of purple and pink in it, and you're not supposed to see that in a big puffy white cloud. I wish the smell is really annoying. And I know it can't be that, I know everything around me, so I don't know what that is. Bless you. Yeah, the old crone stuff. And she's still around, Old folks like that never, like me. Even if I die, I'm still going to be here. So, and maybe next time you see me, I might look different. It's almost getting to, so it's been really cold up until now. And right now it's 90 degrees. Should not be 90 degrees here. So there might be a forest fire over there. that I don't know. And the problem with a lot of the woods just on the next neck of the woods is that um, chemical companies have buried really nasty shit there forever. Oh, yellow. Oh, yes, 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 yes. That sounds like a plan. Like federal idea, like federal ID. Yeah. Okay, we'll give it that. What's your name? What's your name? Thank you, Melody. Thank you, Melody. Well, I don't know if you heard me. I had to deal with somebody else's. Oh, hold on. So yes. Do. So that was the bureaucracy, and everything has to be done on the computer. And I said, I don't have a computer. And he said, well, everything has to be done on the computer. I don't have the authority, right? I asked for certain things on my own HIP. Said, well, we can't give you information about yourself on your own HIP. This is what's the narcissistic dynamic of the system. So anyway, what else can I say? The age of tech, yeah. Well, it's very similar to what the dark ages were. Dark Ages had the same thing because everything was run through the theologic, like in the Spanish Inquisition. That was their version of tech, the Spanish Inquisition of the Dark Ages. It's like when we had went and picked up people all over the Mideast and then took them to dark sites. That weren't just the one there in Cuba, but all over the place where we could just kill them, torture them, have them disappear. And we've been doing that pretty much since 1492. Christopher Columbus was really good at that, right? So, I mean, he wiped out 6 million people in less than 10 years. Pretty good, pretty good. Anyway, how much juice do I have left in this thing? I still probably got 20, 15 minutes. So let's see what else is on the old radio here. So I take things off the radio. So again, go find that thing called After School. That's on YouTube, After School.
Moral failings and wrongdoings. A predominant characteristic of the behavior of malignant narcissists is scapegoating, explains Peck. Because in their hearts they consider themselves above reproach, they must lash out at anyone who does reproach them. Since they must deny their own badness, they must perceive others as bad. They never think of themselves as evil. On the other hand, they consequently see much evil in others. Narcissistic scapegoating is on full display in the political world. Many politicians today are so desperate to appear morally righteous that they categorically refuse to consider the possibility that their policies, mandates, and social reforms are the primary drivers of much that is wrong with society. When presented with evidence of their catastrophic failures, or when other people challenge their morally flawless self-image, political malignant narcissists double down on their policies and heap the blame for society's problems upon their favored scapegoats, be it other nations, political opponents, or individuals who merely happen to hold differing political views. Or as Peck explains, strangely enough, malignant narcissists are often destructive because they are attempting to destroy evil. The problem is that they misplace the locus of the evil. Instead of destroying others, they should be destroying the sickness within themselves. As life often threatens their self-image of perfection, malignant narcissists are often busily engaged in hating and destroying that life, usually in the name of righteousness. They sacrifice others to preserve their self-image of perfection. They create for those under their dominion a miniature sick society.
So that's what's happening in America.
State of society,
what's happening in Europe. What's happening around the world.
Diagnosis of malignant narcissism on any politician we disapprove of. In so doing, we run the risk not only of a misdiagnosis, but worse, of mimicking the malignant narcissist's scapegoating behavior.
That's right.
Or as Peck reflects, indeed, might I not be guilty of evil myself by so labeling others who disagree with my opinions?
Exactly.
Might I not be misusing the concept of evil by facilely applying it to any and all who oppose my judgment? To avoid misdiagnosis.
I'm Derek with Precision Door. Are you experiencing technical difficulties with your door opener remote, or just looking to change?
Streets were familiar with the names of the streets, the names of the buildings, and the names of families.
Battle between regulators and software maker Microsoft in the late 1990s and landmark antitrust case. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News in Washington. Support for independent films pull off through road from co-director
comes from the station and from Schwab with campaign efforts. Now, Davidson also testified that he knew AMI was buying the stories to not run them, and that would, inevitably help the Trump campaign efforts, even if he didn't know about any specific deal made.
More than 1,000 protesters have been arrested over the last 2 weeks on campuses, including in Texas, Utah, Virginia, North Carolina, New Mexico, Connecticut, Louisiana, California, and New Jersey, some after violent clashes with police in riot gear. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper remembering the 4 officers who died yesterday during a standoff in Charlotte.
We can never, ever fill the void that they leave behind.
They can pass that disease on to new trees you would plant.
Joseph Campbell in conversation with Michael Toms. New Dimensions. Needless to say, it was a very difficult 3 years. There was no hospices at the time. And
To disperse, and they're still there.
NPR's Sergio Martinez Beltran on the campus of the University of Texas, Austin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All 5 police officers and paramedics criminally charged in the death of Elijah McClain have now had their days in court in Colorado. McClain's death drew attention in the wake of George Floyd's murder. Colorado Public Radio's Allison Sherry reports the case has inspired police reform in Colorado, but not everyone has been done.
I'm standing in Aurora, Colorado, on the corner of Evergreen and Belling. Almost 5 years ago, a 23-year-old massage therapist named Elijah McClain was walking home from a convenience store after buying iced tea in this neighborhood. McClain, who didn't know that someone had reported a suspicious person, and despite never being suspected of committing any crime, police took him down here. He was unarmed, but given 2 carotid holds anyway, and thrown to the grass several times. Paramedics administered an overdose of a powerful sedative and loaded him into an ambulance, handcuffed, where he lost his pulse and never recovered. There were years of delays to get here, but last week a state judge handed down the final sentence for the police officers and paramedics. Fire department medic Jeremy Cooper, who administered the fatal dose of ketamine to McClain, was sentenced to 14 months in jail and work release. The other paramedic, Cooper's boss, Peter Chikuniak, got 5 years in prison. 2 of the police officers were acquitted, but Officer Randy Rodima was sentenced to 14 months in jail. Judge Mark Warner, who heard all the cases, said this at Cooper's sentencing.
The life of Elijah McClain mattered and matters. It's almost unthinkable. A young man died for really no reason. It occurs to the court that it didn't have to happen.
Shanine McClain, Elijah's mother, sat through more than 3 months of the first responders' trials.
And that's about 40,000 Americans have that experience every year. So, what else can we say? And that's, so.
Campbell in conversation with Michael Toms.
What we need. And we go to God through Jesus' unconditional forgiveness. You can't do that. You're going to end up like John Birmingham, right? So go watch John Birmingham. Watch him a lot. I mean, watch him almost 24/7. Get his numbers up. Make him an A-lister. You want to see some really strange shit? Make John Birmingham an A-lister. You want to see the human dynamic of Job right there in front of you on your screen? Just look at John Birmingham, right?
The only problem with John is he's not Job. Because Job, John goes on about how he's suffering. I mean, you saw his house. It's like, really? He lives in it all by himself, right? And his mommy and daddy cough up between $5,000 and $20,000 every month, and he can. I've seen him order $1,000 worth of food from Kroger, where they hand deliver it. Right? They'd put it in the fridge, but he says no, just throw it on the ground. And if you go and look at some of his shows, especially the ones where he's cleaning up, there's piles and piles of rotting food that he was too lazy to even put in the fridge. And so John is no Job. Job was not a narcissist. He was always, going, okay, God, I have no idea why all of this is happening, but there's a reason you're doing it. Okay, I'm down, right? And that's why Job came out on the other side. Now, basically, I got to a point in my life where I, was Mr. I was living the dream of the materialist narcissist, right? And I had my way out in that I wasn't even paying for it, really, in that it was a byproduct of my work environment. And the people I worked for, my clients were, those guys that was being explained to in that after school bit. And I was just observing it. So I was saying, well, I'm just a scientist here watching the monkeys play in the cage. But, I went to the titty bars. I was at the mobster restaurants. I gained 300 pounds, and lived that life. Now, I did, people would say to me, you know what? You only work 11 weeks of the year and you're making this kind of money. If you worked all the time, you'd be a millionaire. I said, I don't need to be a millionaire. And the majority of the money that I had, I used helping other things happen, like all the 501cs around here and other ones I was part of in Virginia. I was bankrolling them and, doing that. And other people, I was bankrolling people who I wanted to see to succeed, right? And they all did. They all came out on the other side. And it made me happy. People said, well, you should get them people to give you money. I said, if they want to give me money, they can. Pretty much they know, everyone kind of knows, but I got rid of everything on purpose so I wouldn't have it. So I live comfortably on $400 a month. Yes, would it be more convenient, more nice to have a few more dollars so I could change a tire when it goes flat or stuff like that. But by not having any of that, it's like this car here. It's a miracle it drives, right? So when God wants me to go from A to B, like he did today, like it wouldn't start yesterday afternoon. It started yesterday morning, so I went from A to B, but it didn't, start from, in the afternoon yesterday. Once I got here and took care of things, and I was going to go someplace else, wouldn't start. Didn't want me to go, so I stayed and took care of other stuff, right? And such is life, right? And I'm glad we crack you up. I mean, John and I are like Abbott and Costello. I am both Abbott and Costello, and John is something in between. And or Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, and John is definitely Jerry Lewis, and I am definitely Dean Martin, and Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. Well, I'm both Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, and then John is that thing in between. So Carmen Miranda, I think maybe. But again, what's going on now isn't anything different than what has happened before. Right? So if you're getting all your undies in a bunch over anything, it's a waste of time. That's why focusing on your relationship with, God through Jesus Christ. That's why reading your Bible, like the kid who I spent a lot of effort to try to get to go on a good path around here, who end up as a meth head, and he, Sunday I found him trying to rob my house. Because I don't lock things up, but I have nothing to steal. He was going through all my stuff. And when I walked in, he didn't expect me to be there, but my car was there. I just had taken a walk. That's how unconscious he was, right? And so he's such a guy. That's his last name, Guy. Hey, Guy. Whenever your name is something like a end of a joke, it's it's not going to end right. It's like Kenny. Think back, every male loser you ever knew was either Larry, Billy, Kenny, Bobby, Jimmy, right? Now James here, he's not Jimmy, he's James or Jim, right? He's not Jimmy, right? I mean, look at South Park. Kenny died every episode. He got murdered or squished or hit by lightning. They killed Kenny, right? Why do you think it was Kenny and not Kenneth? Lawrence of Arabia. He wasn't Larry of Arabia. Now all you folk out there who are Larry's, Billy's, and Kenny's and Jimmy's are going to get upset. But if you just step back and see what I'm talking about, you might call yourself Lawrence. And, Johnny Boy is going on about names, and he's, Bob, what's he? Who's he hiding from? No. Thing is, both those names were given to me, right, by higher powers, right? The owl, meaning I, as an anthropologist, I lived with Aboriginal tribes that I was the first white guy they saw. Right? They did not speak English or Spanish or Portuguese or German or anything other than their tongue, and I had to learn their tongue. They didn't learn my tongue, right? And that was because we were both, that group and I, right? And I stuck around, and I didn't bring anybody, right? And I was sent to those places because the powers that be knew there was something there, but they didn't want to expend any of their real energy, so they sent me, right? And if I didn't come back, that's okay. But all three of those groups, when they gave me a tribal name, that being part of the family, was OWL. And this one guy, a shaman, who I would, and he would, he was quite an interesting guy. He had control of time and space. But anyway, one day we were sitting around a fire watching after little kids, right? The mommies and the daddies were off hunting, the mommies were off gathering, and we were sitting under the shades of the banana bushes and keeping the kids, at least in sight. They were running all over the place. Anyway, we were sitting by a fire that had burned way, the fire from last night burned way, way, way down to where it was just pretty much, ash, right? So he takes out, and it's like he kind of takes a scoop of, not hot ash with embers, but just ash, and he puts it over the floor and takes a banana leaf and kind of makes it smooth, and he starts making pictorial images, right, of telling a story. He's like, teaching me the language from the beginning. It's kind of what we do with AI, So he would draw a picture and then, say it in his language, and I go, oh, and I'd say that, and then he'd go, or like, and so anyway, he drew a picture of, the trope of an owl in the disco Disney digital land of imagery. Those are Sitchins. We don't know they're Sitchins, but they are. But anyway, he drew an owl, right? And out there in the middle of the rainforest, there were no, this is, equatorial. There were no owls out there. They didn't even know what he drew it. And then he pointed at me. Like, this is you. And other people had been calling me Al over the years in different situations. And so that is the guy who had no idea who, what an owl was. He drew the picture and pointed at me. And I said, owl. And he said, owl. And then he told everyone like this, and owl. And so everyone's calling me Owl. So that's how I got that name. Right? Didn't make it up. And Bob is another very esoteric thing. So I'm not even going to tell you what Bob's about. You're going to have to do some homework. But Johnny Boy, he says shit. He doesn't care about anything, anybody. It's if it shows any kind of I'm cool, he doesn't care. He'll steal, lie, cheat, whatever, right? And he doesn't even know he's doing it. And that's why he is the perfect example of our cultural, canary in the gilded cage of suffering, right? Self-indulgent suffering. And we're going to see us going deeper and deeper into that. And all around me. So the holler folk who might have said something about it, they're toast. They're between OxyContin and alcohol and just being, forced off their land. And if they said a peep, they ended in jail dead. That's what's coming your way. Right? we are going to say, Donnie wants to rustle up all the illegal aliens. Well, that's somewhere between 6 and 30 million people. How are you? And someone said, so how are you going to do it? We're going to put the army on the street. There's a thing, posse comitatus. It's in our Constitution. Army cannot be used in a police force. Well, that right there would be right against the Constitution. And there is no real, crime. Illegal aliens, statistically, are the most, non-criminal because they're down low. They don't want to draw any attention to themselves. They want to be here long enough so they can at least get their kids to be Americans, So, no, the thing you need to be scared of is the imperial force, the corporate oligarchy, the people that smell that I just smelled. That wasn't from the illegal aliens. That was from the corporate structure burning something, right? So that's what you guys. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm already kind of Walking Dead. I'm experiencing that phone call I just had was like with the incompetent, illiterate, and don't want to be held responsible, medical institution that we have, right? And that's fine. I should have, done it live just so you could hear, but I didn't want to. Once I realized he wasn't going to mention any, information about me that I don't want on the World Wide Web, like, and John, he'll drop it. He'll give you any, like I said, he stole my birth certificate, my passport, pictures of my grandparents getting married, all the stuff that Dragon sent, right? He took, right? It was in his house. He threw me out. I didn't take it with me. I come back, a month later. I look into the corner of the closet I had stashed it in. It was gone. Asked him about it. I don't know what you're talking about. It's my house. What is it here? It's mine. Mine. Praise Jesus. Praise God. Praise Jesus. Praise God. Mine. Praise Jesus. Praise God. Praise God. And then I noticed him doing a show, and and it was in this mahogany kind of chest that my grandfather made that had inlaid pearl. And he showed it. He said, I just found this magic box. And he's taken out the pictures of my, he doesn't show me. That would have been too obvious, but he shows pictures of my grandparents getting married. Anyway, and that's, like I said, John, he is the perfect, you want to have a almost scholastic definition of a personality dysfunction, of narcissism and sociopathic. John Birmingham's it, meaning, right? So, and but I don't know if you call it the saving grace, but he does have this innocence of a child inside of him, and that's Jimmy, and that character can feel disappointment in himself, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But does it stop him from doing it again? No. and Jimmy is, you don't really see Jimmy too often, right? Oh. And so John is such an easy trope. And that's why, and he is my friend. I don't give up on friends, but I am not going to, go there and put myself, in harm's way by being near him. Or even, I talk, I can feel when he needs a little conversation, but does he ever take anything I say to heart? Does he ever, other than trying to be me, guys, please. So come on, guys. How about there's not even a single thumbs up? One, come on. What are you guys saying here? I've been with you guys since the beginning. You remember true happiness to awake others happy. Yep, that's it. You're in a land of corporate subtle I don't have my reading glasses. Hierarchical structures. Yeah, I worked for it. I worked in it for 40 years. And luckily I was allowed to be myself because I was the only one. There was no other guy like me. I mean, many people who were in power said to me, Al, if there were more of you, we'd have to kill you. But since you're the only one, we love you. You are, you know, you are at least our northern light. You are at least our saving grace. You are at least a guy who always tells us what we need to know and doesn't really browbeat us when we ignore it, right? You will step in and say what the outcome will be of that, but you know, come chat in the cheeky, yes. And you're Jamie, not Y. There's no Y there, Jamie. You're Y, right? So that's different than Jimmy. You're Jamie, right? That's not a Jimmy. Right? Incredible blessings. Yep. Back at you. And that's part of what it is to being a loving, empathetic human being. Yep. Love is a blessing. I mean, we are so blessed to be here. And no matter what so I've been around the world a zillion times. In the most, I was around Yugoslavia during the war, but I was there during the Olympics and then 2 years later. I was there and I stayed. So when I shot the Olympics, I shot it not like all the other news guys. I got there about a month before and took lots of pictures of people. Who is burning that shit? It's really not nice. But anyway, and I took a lot of pictures, had made a lot of friends. And then after the war, I came back 2 years later. A couple of people got a hold of me and said, you should come and visit. And I took pictures of all the little towns that I had so much, that was just so beautiful. So it was destroyed. All of that history, that culture, just like Syria, which is a crossroads of every culture on the planet, destroyed with this war. Iran, Iraq, both places destroyed. Afghanistan destroyed. Right. Look at the destruction in the Gaza Strip. I mean, they made a living culture in the middle of a prison, and it's been destroyed. So, unless you got something else to talk about, oops, how's the garden? Oh, well, like other than this nasty smell, it's quite nice. I mean, this ain't where I am right at this minute. Isn't quite the deep. I mean, it's in the deep green, but it's not my garden. But this is, somebody's burning something nasty. This is a new nasty smell. I went to the next county next to me, to a church, to talk to this minister about what the kids are going to deal with the new school year that's coming. And instead of having just 30 people in their class, they're going to have 60, right? And the place is awash with meth. And, how can we, stand up to that, right? So, and the two schools are closing. So the little kids those schools are going to close. So they're not going to be protected. And so I was trying to talk to that minister on what maybe the church could do. And he was going on about, like he was, well, that's, it's not part of my job. And I read in part of the Bible where Jesus said it was part of our job to take care of our neighbors and all the people in our life around us who we don't even know. But as I was driving into that county, the corporation has bought this whole mountain range, right? And they're logging it out. And what they're doing, usually what they do, they log something out, they cut the timber that can be trucked away and sold. And then the other slag, they call it, they put it in piles and burn it, right? But that's just wood, right? Well, what these guys have been doing, because they own properties in the surrounding 6 counties where they have lots of building sites and they're demoing stuff, and there's lots of stuff that they are taking out of these buildings that by law are supposed to be gotten rid of in a certain way because of environmental reasons. Well, they've taken them all to this part of the county, not my county, but close enough. I don't know if this smell is coming from that, but I drove by it. They were burning like 55-gallon drums of stuff that had like a toxic signal on, and so they're just doing that, and I'm sure they're getting it from you know companies within a 200-300 mile radius, because they can make 15-20 grand getting rid of a barrel of that goo, right? And this ain't a place where the rich people are going to live. This is where the poor people are. They didn't buy that land because they don't want it. It's like no real good view, no lakefront property, none of the above. But it is part of the biome of the forest. And by destroying that, they don't realize that it's going to destroy. It already has. I mean, around here, let's see. Well, these trees up here have fallen down on this house because of what happened, 4 mountain ranges over that way. Because the biome of this ain't my biome. I'm still like over 2 mountain ranges from this house. But this is the closest place I can come to jump on the internet. And the water, when I bought this place, first thing I did was, there was a well, I tested the well, and the guy said, man, this is the best water ever possible. I've never seen it like this. You should bottle this and sell it, right? Well, that was one of the major reasons I bought the property, because it had unbelievably good water. Plus, I had my own spring. And once I built a structure, I was collecting my gray water off the roof, to flush the toilet. So I had 3 sources of water. And so I still do. And I had to measure it again, and it's still good, but not what it was. So this is all having effect, even on my, precious little deep green. So let's see what you guys are saying here. Let's see, in the deep green of Tipperary, so cool, life goes on. Yes, right. So where I live, my little holler, it seems not to really affect, But I mean, I am a shamanic sensuary, so I can feel everything if I put my mind to it. And so, again, I'm old enough to been in this situation before. 6 other times I've been in places where this was like, I didn't think the rich would come or they would destroy it like it is, like Asheville. Didn't think they would destroy that. Parts of Virginia up there near Floyd, I didn't think they would destroy that. Parts of the Florida Keys I was in, didn't think they would destroy that. A place called it's in Long Island. It's kind of near. It's on eastern Long Island. It's kind of on the north side of the tail of where. It'll pop into my mind. But a number of places. Ireland. I never thought Glendore would become a tourist site. Different parts of England. Sweden. I really thought Sweden would always stay the Sweden I knew, especially my little town I lived in. No, I'm between Gutenberg and the capital, and and there was a town in the middle there that I lived. Little weeny teeny town. And there was equal distance between Norway and the Prase guys, who would always beat Russia's ass. Let's see. Whoever, let's see. Robert Art. Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob. Nice today. Yeah. Who's this other guy here? Is it Jamie? Yes, Jamie. Smiles. Nice. Okay. How much are we in the red? Oh, we're in the red. We got to go. See, my laptop really skits out the website if I let it die of a battery. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. I've been doing it now for almost 2 hours, so hope you guys are well. Have a beautiful, today is Thursday. Have a beautiful Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow, Saturday, someday. I'm trying to, I'm not doing quite as many, but I'm still doing a few a week. So talk to you guys later. Whoops, gotta hit this button.